Alright, well, in this video I wanted to show you guys how to get the speedometer working now that the NV5600 6-speed is in this truck. These transmissions ordinarily do not have a mechanical speedometer gear as the Getrag does. So because the Getrag has a mechanical gear that turns the speed sensor, and it normally grounds out the sensor wire going to the speedometer, which causes the speedometer to go. But on this truck, the 6-speed doesn't have any port for a speedometer, because a second gen Dodge would ordinarily use the signal coming from the differential as a speedometer. But fortunately for me, I have a gear vendor on this unit which has a GM style speedometer sensor. So you could use this exact same principle that I'm about to describe based off of using your ABS variable reluctance sensor. I wouldn't necessarily advise it, because you don't want to be messing with ABS signals to, because that affects the quality of your braking. But so this style uses this GM style permanent magnet variable reluctance sensor, which is very similar to, in principle, to an ABS sensor. There's a the sensor has a permanent magnet, and then in the inside there's a tone wheel, and as it passes by the tone wheel, the teeth on the tone wheel passes by the magnet, it generates an AC pulse, right? Which is not the way this Dodge works. Like I said, the 5-volt sensor wire coming from the speedometer ordinarily has a reed switch style sensor that creates connection to ground, which at variable pulses depending on the speed of the transmission, and ordinarily operates the speedometer that way. But this gear vendor needs the AC signal, because that's how it knows whether or not your speed is fast enough for overdrive to be allowed to engage. It like engages at 35-40 miles an hour, and it'll disengage a little bit below that, because you need enough velocity and pressure to operate this thing. So it's kind of a fail-safe mechanism. But forgive the hack wiring. I have yet to clean it up, but the red and green wire is for the overdrive solenoid, whereas the black and purple go into the cab. That's for the speedometer. So like I said, that's a variable reluctance sensor that creates an AC signal. Now, how do I convert that to something useful on this truck? Well, I'll show you. I have a buttload of wiring inside my center console. Forgive the mess. Like I said, I'm still working on it. But here's the gear vendor box. This is the brains of it that causes it to function off of the switch on the shifter, as well as the light and shut off switch right here. So this thing interprets the AC signal from the speed sensor to allow it to work or not. But what I did was I split. You can see the blue and green wires right there. I split that off, so it's receiving that signal, but also this other little module that I obtained is receiving the AC signal as well. And what that is, I'll show you. Is this device. This is not a very, easily found company on Google, but I found this company that is a sensor adapter. So it's pretty cool. the way I have it configured on this first gen Dodge is I have an open drain setup. So, you know, it's on that device, you'd pull the cap off, and then there's various jumpers depending on your application, you know. But anyways, I set up in the open drain configuration, so it creates a pulse depending on the AC frequency that or that just, you know, either has continuity or continuity to ground, or it's open. So, which is exactly what I need. So now I have a way to turn the AC wave into a connection to ground that increases and decreases with speed. But now the question is okay, so I've converted it into a manner that I could get the speedometer to work. But when I wired just this directly to the speedometer, I'd go like 5 miles an hour and the speedometer showing 40, you know. So then I needed a way to calibrate it. That's when I bought a Dakota Digital SGI 100BT. And you know, this thing has like ways to operate, attack, and calibrate that, but I bought it for the speedometer function. So that white wire right there coming off of this module is the input for here. So that was creating the signal, and from there I calibrated it. I had to drop it dramatically, and I'm running off of output 4, which I don't seem to have connected right now. So what I did is I just followed the instructions and looked at it. In my application, I need to go from a high frequency to a low frequency because it was drastically off, and I went with the out 4. I initially did the out 5, but I would drive 60 miles an hour before the speedometer registered anything. So I went output 4, which got me something reasonably close, and then from there there's a procedure to set and increase, micro adjust it. So that is what I've done so far. I hope this video has helped someone. Feel free to ask any questions and I'll help as much as I can. Thanks.